Hello everybody, John here from the esports department. My voice is a little wild today, so I'm going to try to keep it a little bit short. Um, this isn't as interesting of a slate as I was kind of hoping for a four-gamer, but we are moving into two really big slates that are coming up soon here. Tomorrow, not this slate, but the slate after is the $555. The slate after that is the $20, I think 25K to first. So we're looking for some pretty big prize pools coming up in the next few days. This one has some things you can do, but I'm not as excited about it as some of the other slates that we've had. We start off with E-Star plus 750, 2-9 on the season, up against JDG, who's minus 1600, 6-4 on the season. A pretty clear advantage to JDG. E-Star is a little closer than some might think when it comes to like GPM. I mean, JDG's not having the most insane season this season, and their early games have been particularly weak. They're down gold at 15 minutes. They only have a 47% dragon percentage, and their first blood, first turrets are pretty low as well. Overall, though, I think you'd be giving too much credit to E-Star to say that they deserve to be close in this matchup. 750 might be a little heavy. I don't have any problem with playing E-Star in the bigger field GPPs. I think that they're definitely playable. They could definitely beat JDG here. It hasn't been a great season so far for JDG. But JDG still obviously at 1600 is a pretty clear favorite. It's worth noting E-Star went back to Irma in the mid lane instead of Insulator. Just worth noting there. Next matchup, Victory 5 plus 200, 5-5 on the season. Sunning is minus 275, 5-5 on the season. So both teams 5-5, but the odds pretty heavily to Sunning. They kind of warrant it. It's 1830 to 1784 in gold per minute, plus 94 to minus 36 in gold differential. They're 11% better at dragons, about 400 gold better at 15 minutes. They're a little bit weaker in the early game, especially with the first blood and first turret numbers, but by that time they hit 15 minutes, they're doing pretty well. They're also on separate trajectories. I think Sunning had a terrible start to the season and is now kind of on their way back up. Victory 5, on the other hand, started off fairly strong on the season and has kind of come back down to earth. I like Sunning a decent amount here, but both of these teams should be playable. Sunning has some pretty low numbers for kill per win and death per loss, but V5's pretty high. Probably balances out to at least pretty decent scoring on the Sunning side. So some value there. Trying to keep it as short as I can because you guys can tell my voice is not there today. To go back though real quick, the numbers for the first matchup are huge. Like E-Star and JDG is going to be a matchup you're going to want to look at for sure. When you average it out, it gets pretty close with the Sunning win numbers, going by the DPLs of Victory 5, but I think leaning to Sunning or JDG to be your highest scoring favorites is pretty likely on this slate. Next up is HLE, minus 275, 7-4 on the season. Nongshim plus 200, 4-8 on the season. Nongshim, I think, is coming kind of crashing towards earth, even though they won a series recently. HLE, I think, is here to stay, but probably not one of the top couple teams in the league. All the stats pretty heavily towards HLE, as you might guess. And this one is a surprise. The biggest expectation on the slate actually goes to HLE as far as kills per game, kills per win. Very interesting. Not something you would see in the LCK very often. I definitely would have assumed that the other two matchups were going to be like lock top twos, but HLE highest on the slate. I know the last one's not going to be highest on the slate, so HLE definitely worth looking at, and we'll look at them as a cash game option as well. I'm a little worried that this matchup's a little too easy, and that HLE might just run this thing over. I think also their prices don't line up super well. A lot of the LCK guys end up really like too cheap, even if they're like big favorites, because they don't usually score that well. But HLE has scored pretty well, and their prices have kind of kept up with that. So we'll look at them again in a minute, but I'm guessing they might not be the highest projected team. We're kind of seeing that they're not looking like it in some positions, but in other ones, looking a little better. The last matchup of the day, GENG minus 1,000, 9-3 on the season, up against Sandbox plus 550, 2-10 on the season. Just huge advantages for GENG everywhere, not worth really discussing there. Sandbox has been, by their stats, they're so much worse in record than their stats indicate compared to the other teams in the league. But I don't think this is probably the matchup where they're going to find a win. That said, Gelati made a pretty reasonable case that GENG, you could definitely see Karis in this matchup, or Flawless, or both. If that happens, maybe it's worth throwing in some LSB lineups in the big GPPs just in case. Maybe it's worth playing a Karis or Flawless lineup in the big GPPs just in case, but I think I lean more towards maybe playing a big stack of one of these other big favorites and then putting Sandbox in as the small stack just in case they're able to beat the Karis Flawless version of GenG. That said, the Karis Flawless version of GenG is probably better than LSB by a decent margin, so it makes the matchup closer, but not exactly fair if Karis and Flawless are playing. As far as ownership on this slate, the LPL matchup I don't think would be the lowest. E-Star is going to be pretty low. I think Sandbox will probably be the lowest. E-Star might be... I think Nong Shim's going to be down here. I think E-Star is going to be down here. E-Star might be lower than Nong Shim. The V5 Sunning matchup, I feel like V5 is going to have pretty decent ownership. I think you might be looking at GenG coming in right here as the next lowest owned, because I think V5 is going to have some pretty good ownership. I might put V5 up above GenG, and then maybe Sunning here, HLE, and then the two big, the other big LPL favorite. Do I have a team on here twice? Oh no, Sunning's here, yeah. And then JDG's probably up towards the top. So JDG, HLE, Sunning, and Victory 5 in the top. Nongshim, E-Star, and Sandbox giving you your best shot with an underdog as far as ownership goes. For cash games, GenG is scary to me unless you're playing them in a small stack. I do think that was a pretty good argument, that this is a great matchup for GenG to play backups. That's worrisome for me. What are their pricings look like? Let's look at pricings and expectations real quick for some of these teams. So projection-wise, it's Sunning, GenG, JDG, HLE, and last when it comes to the top lane. HLE on the top of the jungle rankings, with JDG, GenG, Sunning in last, JDG in second. In the mid lane, it's HLE again, Sunning, JDG, and GenG last. AD carry, GenG last again, Sunning, JDG, and HLE above them. And at support, HLE, JDG. So HLE, JDG, and Sunning in some combination, generally leading the charts. I think this just kind of makes GenG a good fade spot. If they're not one of the better scoring teams anyway, their team slots projects the best, so one-off team slot for GenG could be kind of nice. But it feels like you want to have some combination of HLE, JDG, HLE, Sunning, or JDG, Sunning. I have a lot of faith in Sunning in this matchup. I think a lot of other people might not. So maybe you want to stay away from Sunning and look at HLE, JDG. Let's see what that looks like. You get a Zoom Captain 3-3. Let's see, Arthur's cheaper than Kanavi. Yagao is cheaper than Chovy. Loken is more expensive than Deft. So if you took out Loken and put in Deft, you leave 500 on the table. You could switch up to Chovy if you wanted. Then you have all the HLE. Switch down to, or go up to JDG team. Maybe you have to do Morgan captain, but doing that is scary as hell even if Morgan's starting, because they do so many switch ups, HLE. I'm just trying to see if there's a better way to get like 4 of a team in here. That wouldn't quite get you JDG team. Let's see, he's 400 more, 400 more, 200 more. I think you'd have to leave Chovy out maybe. Yeah, you'd have to leave Chovy out if you were going to play these two and get a 4-2. If you did that, you could get Morgan captain with 4 HLE, but you're leaving out Chovy, which hurts really badly. Let me see the re-optimized version again. It's just really hard to fit Chovy, huh? If you switch Zoom and Morgan, then you got enough to switch to Chovy, right? Oh yeah, but then you have to upgrade the team slot, and you can't afford to do it. What other team slots are in play? Feels like we might have to use a different team slot. Sunning's only 5,000. Sunning team slot would get you least a 4-2, but you're still using, now you're using 3 teams, and you're using Morgan. Not the biggest fan of this for cash, I don't think. It just seems very hard. Oh, I have Sunning players in there right now. Yeah, I'm not sure I'm a fan of trying to fit these two for cash. It doesn't, you could go to support captain. What's Vista's expectation? 73. Yeah, I guess, I mean, he doesn't project much worse than the top laners. So you could go, well, what's Lumau's 71? Yeah, that's not bad. You could maybe, like, what if I made Vista, must play Vista captain? And then I would want to switch either Zoom or Loken to get the 4-2, so probably Deft. And it gives you a 594.8. It's not exciting, but it's not that bad. I mean, sometimes you guys will see there's some jungle captain lineups we've seen in the past that weren't 594.8s. So just because it's support captain doesn't mean it can't score a reasonable amount of points. What's HLE Sunning look like? Jungle captain 4-2. They do have these swapped only because there's a slight out projection there, but I think you're better off going, you can go Arthur here and SOFM captain, and then you have the proper 4-2, even though SOFM does not project super well. It is a pretty large gap, though. What if we wanted to get 4 HLE players? Let's see. What if we did... I don't really want to do that. I don't really want to play top lane if I could help it in cash, though. Like, you really want to play not the HLE top lane. Oh, this fits. Nice. 609.8. Yeah, this seems good. Arthur, Chovy, Deft, Vista, SFM, and Bin. It's not giving you the best scores the way that you would want them, but that's just a standard 4-2 with the jungle captain. That's 609.8. This one it lists at 620, so we actually out-project Sunning in a lot of these spots then, huh? Sunning at top, Sunning at 80 carry. A lot of that just has to do with the out-projection of Arthur versus SOFM. If I played that same lineup that I'd made earlier, what was it? It was Arthur... No, because that one had Arthur captain too, right? Yeah. 609.8 seems reasonable. Let's see what JDG Sunning looks like. I don't think we're going to get better here because the prices are just too expensive on JDG. Support captain for Sunning. Getting the JDG team slot in there fits. So you can play that too. It's only a 579.6 though. It feels like going with one of these HLE lineups is better. The HLE JDG or the HLE Sunning. I kind of feel like maybe HLE Sunning is the play. We had Chovy. How did we fit this? It just doesn't make any sense that it fits. We downgrade Huanfeng to Deft. Upgrade the mid lane to Chovy. Oh, it's the team slot. That's what's making it go that other. I was trying to figure out why it's building that for Sunning version. Because it's like HLE outscores in all the positions. It's just the team slot. It's trying to upgrade that 11 points to get to the team slot. So I definitely think this is the right one to be playing. The Arthur captain HLE with Bin and SOFM. If you're not as trusting of Sunning, which I think is reasonable to not be that trusting of Sunning, then I think you go the HLE JDG and just play support captain. I think that's completely fine. It's safer. I think JDG is definitely safer than Sunning, so you can go there and get a little bit more safety. But that's generally my thoughts on the slate, guys. Try to keep it short today because my voice just isn't working very well. It hurts my throat to talk. So I will be back tomorrow for a big one for the $555 slate. I'm going to try to make a longer video the next 2 days since we got those big tournaments going on. Um, and hopefully one of us can take down one of those guys and win some serious money. So I'll talk to you guys later, and have a good rest of the day.